Thank you to my newest patron, Bo Skirston. I appreciate your generosity, and as always, you can reach me with any questions or concerns via Patreon PM, Minds.com, or Twitter at A Helping Hand for Me. Every dollar helps, every dollar is appreciated, and every pledge of $10 or more will earn you a permanent spot in my video credits. To all others who would wish to support me in a different way, my horror fiction anthology Pleasant Nightmares is available through Amazon Kindle and in paperback. Links in the description. So, while trying to think of what to make my next video about last night, one of my followers on Twitter graciously furnished me with this nonsense from ATTN, or Attention. And I have to say, it's definitely a name that suits them, because apparently that's all they're after, attention, and however many problems they can paint as modern travesties to preserve the modern feminist victim narrative. I'm fairly certain that I've seen this video before, or one just like it, and with the way these feminists love to talk in circles, I suppose I shouldn't be surprised that it found its way to my doorstep once again.
Women are literally dying because people are too afraid to touch boobs.
Yeah, and whose fault do you suppose that is? Given your smug sense of self-importance, I'm willing to bet you're going to blame the patriarchy. But how exactly does that add up? If we were to create a comprehensive list of things men most love to touch in this world, I'm pretty sure boobs would be a consistent competitor for the #1 spot. Men love boobs more than fat kids love cake, princess. But if a fat kid sees other fat kids keel over and die every time they have a slice of their beloved dessert, they will undoubtedly start to fear cake regardless of how much they love it. And who are the ones creating this environment of fear surrounding the touching of boobs? Who has reduced the definition of sexual harassment to something as harmless as saying hello to a woman on the street, to the point where men often avoid riding an elevator alone with a woman for fear of being accused of something they did not do? Who do you suppose it is, in light of the massive media witch hunt for sexual abusers that has only gained momentum in recent years, and the tossing out of due process in favor of the feels before reals policy listen and believe? I wonder who could possibly be to blame for this problem.
Bystanders are more likely to give CPR to a man than a woman, meaning a woman is 23% more likely to die if she goes into cardiac arrest in public.
Heart attack!
Bystanders? Seriously? Don't you mean male bystanders? First of all, if you want to make a compelling argument, you're going to have to cite a more credible source than a feminist rag like The Verge. I wouldn't even use a story from The Verge as toilet paper, as I wouldn't want to put anything dripping with that much feminist butthurt in contact with my actual physical ass. But you know what? I'm not even going to attack this bullshit from the angle of credibility, because I have no doubt that you're actually right. Most bystanders probably are afraid to give CPR to a woman, for the same reason they would be reluctant to keep an eye on a woman's child at a playground while she uses the bathroom. Because your feminist bullshit has fostered and reinforced a societal attitude of suspicion regarding the intentions of strange men in public. God forbid she should wake up mid-lip lock, get the wrong idea, and decide to cry rape. This is just one more example of how feminism has utterly killed chivalry. In an environment where news outlets are ever more thirsty for opportunities to spin stories of sexual assault even from details that were never confirmed in the first place, an environment of rape hysteria where the suspicions of the outraged feminist onlookers take precedent even before the clarifying testimony of the supposed victim who never even claimed to be a victim in the first place, you have even made the act of saving your life not worth the risk of legal red tape and social and professional ruin. All because people are starting to listen and believe. Congratulations, feminists, you've achieved your goal.
Researchers believe that this gap in CPR rates exists because people are just too nervous to touch a woman's breasts or move her clothes. Really, people? This is when you decide to keep your hands to yourself?
Do you see this bullshit? Even your attitude in addressing this topic is testament to the attitude responsible for this environment of fear. You are jumping in with the damning assumption that people at large cannot keep their hands to themselves. You walk out your door every morning expecting to be fondled and or harassed at every opportunity, fully prepared to blow your rape whistle, blind people with mace, and then tout the whole experience to your online feminist platform as evidence that people are inevitably going to try to rape you because you live in a rape culture. You refuse to turn that obnoxious noise off, even to let people know that yes, it is in fact okay to come in contact with a woman's tits in the event that you're trying to save her from cardiac arrest and pull her back from the brink of death. You refuse to stop being an abrasive, combative, paranoid, misandric bitch for 2 fucking seconds and put saving a life ahead of your victim complex. This is your fault, sweetheart, and the fault of every other whinging pair of problem glasses like you. You did this.
It's ridiculous that women's bodies have become so sexualized that people are afraid to touch them in a life-saving situation.
And And again, more bullshit assumptions rooted in your feminist victim narrative. Women's bodies aren't sexualized, you jackass. It is not a social phenomenon, it is biological instinct. If you ask any man why they like boobs, they're not going to be able to give you any objective reason. Even if they're well versed in the psychology surrounding the attraction, that explanation still isn't the train of thought going through men's heads when they look at them. It is a visceral feeling to which no form of rationale lends an accurate voice, and your presumptions about it are backwards. Sex doesn't sell because it's in the media. Sex is in the media because it sells. And in case you were somehow unaware, sexual displays in the media were not always so brazen. In fact, not all that long ago, they were outright forbidden, to the point where married couples couldn't even be depicted sharing the same fucking bed. Do you think entities like the MPAA and the FCC would have spent so much time and money trying to censor sexual content if it wasn't inherently stimulating? Do you think certain religions would have spent centuries trying to convince people that masturbation is a one-way ticket to hell if we didn't have the natural inclination? You know what? Let's just assume you're right, okay? Let's just assume that the sexualization of breasts is purely a social construct. Even if it is, again, how does your argument add up? Wouldn't it stand to reason that breasts are sexualized because men like them? I mean, why else would anyone do this if there's nothing to be gained from it? And how would men liking something make them afraid to interact with it? The media doesn't tell people what to like. It either exploits current trends or tries to establish new trends by trying several new things out and promoting the ones that sell. And everyone has always known that sex sells. It was never a question of viability, it was a question of moral character. If there was ever any doubt, love potions wouldn't have sold like hotcakes among superstitious rubes for thousands of years. Men are not afraid to touch your sweater puppets, you fucking simpleton. They're afraid of your reaction. They're afraid of what you might do in response, and how they will be perceived in turn. And from the tone you're taking in this video, from contemporary feminist perspectives concerning sexual harassment, they have every reason to be.
But what's important to know is that when CPR is done correctly, you don't need to remove any clothing. And pressure should be applied to the sternum, not the boobs.
Oh my god, I love it when you feminist idiots try to sound like you know what you're talking about. It's fucking adorable. Sweetie, first of all, nobody ever said you have to take anyone's top off to do CPR. But that's irrelevant because I'm pretty sure grabbing your cans while your top is still on isn't going to be any less offensive to you. Second, the sternum is also called the breastbone because it sits between your pectoral muscles, which are the seat of your breasts. So are you trying to tell me that if a guy placed his hand between your tits, but not actually on them, you wouldn't react poorly to it if it wasn't invited? Because if so, I call bullshit. And don't sit there and tell me that you're inviting it by going into cardiac arrest. He doesn't know that. For starters, do not resuscitate orders are a thing. And even acknowledging the desire to be saved as the typical rational response, he also knows that it isn't rational to accuse a man of sexual harassment just because he smiles at you. But odds are, that's probably happened to him at one point or another as well. And every time something like that happens, he's going to be just that much less likely to bank on you being a rational person if it means putting his own safety and freedom at risk. You've made your bed and now you have to lie in it. And unless you want to die in it, I suggest you roll back the sexual harassment hysteria several notches. Because as much as it would make them a good Samaritan, nobody without a badge owes you a valiant rescue. And fewer are going to see saving your life as worth the risk unless you stop with this paranoid rape culture bullshit.
And more people would know that if CPR training included more female mannequins instead of just mannequins.
Staying alive.
For fuck's sake, are you seriously the kind of feminist that takes offense at any word that even audibly has the word his or man in it? Alright, ridiculous feminist word games aside, here's the bottom line. A mannequin is a plastic inanimate object. It is incapable of judgment, it is incapable of blame, and it is incapable of taking offense regardless of whether it has a plastic wang or a plastic vagine. You can throw antlers and a fucking tail on it and call it a deer. It's still an inanimate object. Whether the mannequin is male or female makes zero difference. Your sternum is in the same place on your body as it is on a man's. And for the record, there are female CPR dummies. Lots of them. Not only are there female CPR dummies, there are female pregnant CPR dummies. And I guarantee you that they're getting use, because if there was no demand, the price wouldn't be this fucking high. This has nothing to do with the method of training, dumbass. Once again, it has to do with the social paradigm your movement has set. It has to do with the environment of fear and the standard villainization of men that feminism has bought and paid for with its talks of rape culture. If this is happening at all, and I'm still not convinced that it's happening to the degree you would have us believe, you have yourselves to blame for it. And since you can no longer count on men to save you, since you need men like a fish needs a bicycle, and have gone out of your way to make yourself entirely insufferable to that end, I guess that just means we're going to have to start expecting women to step up. It sucks when you're shouldered with that kind of burden because of your gender, doesn't it?
CPR can double or triple somebody's chance of surviving cardiac arrest. So it's about time that we stop being squeamish about women's bodies.
Seriously, who the fuck is this we you keep referring to, Snowflake? Men have never been squeamish about women's bodies in any significant capacity per capita. And they still aren't. What they're squeamish about is your potential reaction to them touching you, and that comes from your incessant attempts to redefine rape, sexual assault, and sexual harassment. Men are taught from the day they are born that to touch women, and only women, without their permission is inherently wrong. That lesson is reinforced every time they see a man getting slapped on TV, kicked in the nuts to thunderous applause, or overhear a man being called a pig for even so much as daring to say something that slightly offends your feminist sensibilities. Especially when they know that the concept of innocent until proven guilty will not apply to them if any one of you should choose to accuse them. You built this excessive wall of etiquette between the sexes, and only you can tear it down for the sake of your safety. Do not blame men for behaving the way that you have conditioned them to behave. Thanks to JJ for the source video, and again to all of my followers here on Patreon and to everyone who has offered their help at my request. For all my personal struggles, it always helps to know that my opinion is valued and sought after. Thanks as always, and I'll see you in my next video. Thanks for watching, guys. If you like what you saw here, have a look at my other videos and leave me your thoughts in the comments. If you support my message, then please like, favorite, and subscribe. If you'd like to help this channel improve, you can reach out to me on Twitter or on Facebook with any suggestions. And if you'd like to support me more directly, please consider following me on Patreon, links in the description. Thanks again, and I'll catch you all in my next video.